Okay, moving on now to the final topic already for this week. Fans Pulse Lap 4. You have voted. We will discuss Toughs of the Track. And when I came up with that title as a discussion topic, Toughs of the Track, it made me reminisce, I'm sure, to some comic book, some comic strip back in the day. I can't even remember the name of the character or whatever. But anyway, Toughs of the Track is a thing. We know that speedway riders are a different breed. They're all tough. They're all beyond brave. Just to get on a bike and do what they do, that's undoubted. However, there are some riders who just stand out that little bit more, and there's something about their prowess on track or their attitude on track that just makes them a little bit tougher, a little bit less likely to be moved around on the racetrack, and that I think is the kind of mantle and the kind of profile of the riders that we're looking to identify. Actually, Crabby and Lambo, I would genuinely have included you both as Toughs of the Track. Ronnie, I'm not so sure about you, and I don't mean any disrespect about that. In fact, let me ask you, Ronnie, do you feel offended that I haven't called you a Tough of the Track?
Tough of the Track. I mean, is that like just different tracks on just different setups or something like that? I mean, there was a lot of track advantages in a lot of places we went to back in the days.
But I'm talking about Ronnie. I'm trying to pick out riders who we mentioned. Roman Matusek earlier. So riders or Bruce Cribb, riders of that ilk who you couldn't push about on a track. They were pretty tough.
Well, that would be probably like Simon Cross. There was like people like Hans Nielsen. There was Janno Pedersen. I mean, some of these guys they used to race against, they very hard riders. They wouldn't give you an inch, and even if you did make the gate, they'd still push you and still shove you back in the days. You know, we'd elbow you or touch your back wheel and set you straight. You know, there was all kinds of little things going back in the days. There was a lot of tough riders back in my days when I first came over. You know, Kelvin Tatum, Wiggy. I mean, I had elbows flying everywhere because I was so short. But they could stop me in certain ways because I always cut my bars down, didn't I? Because I was short. So I could get between them or under them in certain ways. So I had my own ways to get my own back on them sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, there was quite a few tough riders back then, like Roman Matusek. He's another one, you know. You know, there's one of those guys you can't turn your back on them. You don't know where he's going to come. And after, if you guys know, remember Scud Missile? They used to ride for Cradley?
Yes.
Well, he was another one you don't want to turn your back on because you never know where he was going to be, did you?
Scud, yeah, I remember Scud.
Outside of you, or taking you out, or T-boning you. You just never knew.
You know, there was Nigel over the years. I'll let you pick out some of your own riders, Nigel, and I'll throw in some names later. But you know, when you lined up against riders who you knew had a bit of a reputation as being just that little bit extra tougher than most. Is that something that ever played on your mind, Nigel?
Oh yeah, you knew they were, and you knew. The thing what I don't understand so much now is, not so much now, he's finished now, hasn't he, in the Grand Prix, but Nicky Pedersen, everybody knows what Nicky was like, but everybody hated Nicky, supporter-wise, unless you were a Nicky supporter, but everybody went to see Nicky. You know, and that's the difference nowadays. There isn't none of them riders about. And you knew for a fact, if you gave Nicky half a chance, he would run you in the fence to stop you going by him. My thing there was, don't give him that chance then. Pass him when he can't run you in the fence. But honestly, years ago, every track had a Nicky Pedersen. Every track. You know, one in Scotland, Rob Grant, round the old Berrington Loft. What Granty could put his foot on the centre green and never take it off and just go round and round. And Granty, he wasn't tough. He was well over that. He had me, you know, great bloke, Granty, great bloke. But when he got his helmet on, he were an animal, he were a monster. Yeah. And every track had him. Kelvin Malarkey at Rye House, he was another hard man, you know. You go down, I don't know, in the first, I don't know, I seem to have lost my memory a little bit, but every track had one of them type of riders. And Arthur Browning, going back to your Birmingham days and that, Arthur was a big fella and big and hard. And Arthur didn't give you any space like. Gordon Kennett, another hard charger.
Yeah, I don't know Gordon.
Say that again, Ronnie.
Yes, I remember old Gordon. I've had some tumbles with that boy a few times.
Yeah, Gordon was an hard charger one day. He'd give you nothing, wouldn't Gordon?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You know, and every track had one. Nowadays, it seems to me, I might be wrong here, Simon will put me right here, everybody's good friends, and like Nicky said, he's out to win, not to make friends. And everybody went to see him. Everybody hated him, but they all went to see him. If he went to Birmingham on Monday, Birmingham would treble their crowd on Monday if Nicky Pedersen were there. I feel sure of it. Yeah. And why? Because he's just an entertainer.
Yeah. And listen, to be absolutely crystal clear, when we're talking about toughs of the track, we're not talking about riders who in any sense are deemed to be dangerous. We're talking about riders who just put themselves about a bit and would take no nonsense out on track, right? Because you guys are out there, you're racing for points for your team, tick. You're racing for money for your own back pocket as well. So, but there were certain. So say again, Nigel.
They'd be dangerous as well.
They could be. I guess they could be. Yeah.
But you knew they were, and you tried to. They made the start on them or whatever, or you passed them when you knew it was safe to pass them when they couldn't get to you. Granty was terrible at Berwick. He was terrible at it. Oh, numerous times I've seen incidents with Granty up there, but they all loved him at Berwick, and he were a massive hit at Berwick.
Yeah. Simon, I'm going to put this delicately to you, Simon. Have you ever tried to impose yourself on track, Simon?
I've never knocked anyone off in my life, but I have turned maybe a second or two later a few times.
Yeah. Well, you're only human, Simon, right?
Do you know what I mean? I'd never dive under someone and think, F you, you're having it, mate, because I'm not like that. Because I'm the same, I've got other responsibilities other than Speedway. I've got a full-time job, my little boy, you know what I mean?
It's all calculated.
Someone to think like that with me. But, I mean, when I was 15, 16, and I got started, I think everyone probably feared someone.
Yeah.
Like, I used to fear Buzz Burrows. Mate, lovely bloke in the pits, but he put his helmet on and his brain fell out.
I think Buzz feared himself, though, Simon.
Oh, he scared me. He scared me. And then, as I got a bit older, probably one of Ronnie's mates, Ron Fisher.
Ryan Fisher.
The big fish dog, mate, from Edinburgh. I mean, I passed him once at Peterborough around the outside. My dad said, "What the bloody hell did you do that for? You're nuts." But he couldn't catch me. Because I was on form and confident, and I went round him. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I think Billy Gennaro was worse than Fisher.
I didn't race him, but I mean, Fish was a hard man, and he was such a nice guy. You look at some Speedway riders now and you think, how can you be a Speedway rider? Stevie Worrell, lovely guy, absolutely lovely guy, family man. He looks too nice to be a Speedway rider. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But, Fisher, you looked at him, he looked mean. You would never want to meet him down a side street after he'd had a few pints. You know what I mean? You've always had a few like that. But, I mean, present one, to be fair, that not a new Nicky, because he's not like that, but Doyley, he's hard. He gets excluded more than anyone in the top league because he'll go under you. Like you say, you give him an inch, he'll try to take a mile, and I think sometimes he forgets he's not in the Grand Prix because they're a little bit more experienced, a little bit more trust and all that. But obviously Nicky was the man, wasn't it? And he was box office. He was always good to watch.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier, Nigel, supporters recognise these things. So, sometimes you can see supporters, and I do it myself. You'll see there might be a couple of riders who've had a bit of a hustle and bustle out on track in a previous heat, and they're back out on track together, side by side on the start grid. And you can you can nudge people to keep an eye on this. This is going to be good, and that's just it's the nature of the sport. But to your point, Simon, that obviously there's a line that you don't cross in terms of you're taking it too far or settling grudges or whatever it might be. But incidentally, I wonder if there's any riders out there who are watching this and thinking that Simon Lambert's a bit hard. I don't fancy meeting him on track.
I think they must have had a few beers if they think that. I'm a nice guy, really. But the thing is, nowadays, it's changed. I think, like I said earlier, we have to be careful what we post on social media and all this stuff and language, and appearance, and they're trying to, like this year they've done it where we all have the tracksuits, like a bit like the pole and setup. I think every club looks professional now. Every club, and I believe it's £250 fine if we turn up without that on.
Really? Okay.
Well, somebody will. If I was an hour up the road, I'd be turning around to come and grab it because I don't want to be paying that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's good like that. But if somebody knocked me off now and I went and thumped him one, I mean, look what happened at Glasgow. I got fined £600 for telling the ref what I thought. Well, you can't do anything nowadays. You physically very hard. You can't do a lot. They've kind of cut the
Put the
comedy act out of it as such.
Yeah.
Entertainment. Entertainment.
Why is it so serious now? Because that's what the people want to see. That's what brings people in the gates. Entertainment, knocking people down, getting the atmosphere, getting in people's faces. I mean, being disciplined for that, I think it's just what's killing the sport. That's what people want to see. They want to see the action now.
This is exactly what we touched on last week, Nigel.
Pardon?
This is exactly what we touched on last week. Speedway's a bit too clinical these days, right?
The referees are taking the entertainment out of it.
Yeah, that's not good.
Like Simon getting fined £600. You haven't even earned £600 that meeting. Yeah. Like, you're going home probably owing £200 or £300 or whatever. I don't know nowadays. But what was wrong? What's ever been wrong with having a confrontation at pit gate? Somebody throws a fist in somebody's helmet. Everybody's got gloves on. Everybody's got an helmet on. Nobody's going to get hurt. And it doesn't spill over into the crowd at all, does it? Never has done, really.
Christ, we've been through some battles back in our days. Christ, man. Between Eastbourne and Cradley and all those days. I mean, Christ, they were trying to kill each other some tracks, man. It was mental. Even get the cops to escort us out of there sometimes. It was that bad.
Yeah, but they came to see you next time you were there, didn't they?
Oh, they were loving it, mate. They were loving it. You know me at Cradley. Of all riders, people used to get in their van and go straight home. Nah, not me. I don't care if we lost or we beat them. I still go to the bar and have a good time, and so Shade always did.
Yeah, of course you did. You did, yeah. What happened on the track, it was forgotten, wasn't it? Till next time. Exactly. Till next time, and you got your own back.
Exactly. That's what Nicky was like. Nicky on the track is a different person. His brain was after his toolbox and he rode like a lunatic. But when he was in the bar, he's a different kid. Completely different kid, man. Even though you still want to punch him in the face, but you just had to deal with it, didn't you?
That's right. You got your own back next time.
Oh, I've had him a few times. I've had him by the throat up in the pits of Wolverhampton one night. I made him rip his throat out one night. Yeah.
But people talk about that, Ronnie. People still talk about that at Wolverhampton.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. We used to have some entertainment there, I'll tell you. Then Eastbourne, Christ, we've had full brawls with about 12 riders on the track. Everybody grabbing and pushing and slamming. It was mental.
Did anybody get hurt? Nobody got hurt.
We all had a good laugh, I'll tell you that.
We had a beer afterwards in the bar.
Yeah, we did, actually. It was brilliant.
So maybe
nowadays we'd get a big fine.
Yeah. How can they fine you if you can't pay it?
Sentence, and it's different, isn't it?
Who's running it now? Who's running the FIM now, or who's in charge of the bloody riders now these days? I suppose these guys don't got a bloody clue, do they? They're all worried about their back pocket most of the time. That's the problem. But
I'll let Derek answer that one.
Who's making these rules up? Do they even have a clue what they're doing, or are they trying to kill the sport? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Speedway is an entertaining sport. Things happen, arguments happen, and they take this all away, and they wonder why the sport's taken away. Well, these guys need to wake up and realize that they're killing the sport.
Ronnie, what you've just said is as good a theory as any, in my opinion. Ice hockey, just to use another example, they actually encourage and allow scraps on the ice and things. Blood is actually spilt on ice rinks in ice hockey matches. I'm not saying that's what we need in Speedway, but a little bit of pushing and shoving, a little bit of handbags, a little bit of remonstrating with referees.
What the crowd want to see, man.
Yeah, interesting.
They do all the streams now, don't they? They do all the streams at the tracks, and I think that's really good. Obviously, you can't beat live sport. But, for your sponsors, your family, your friends and all that, it's amazing. Everybody wants to go with me in my van to Scunthorpe, but nobody wants to go with me to Edinburgh, Glasgow, or Plymouth. you know what I mean? They can all sit at home for 12, 15 quid and watch it happy, have a fag, have a takeaway, have a few beers. It's great, but obviously you can't beat the liveness of it. So fair enough, but that's good. But I mean, people share the races and that online, and just the entertainment in that sense has gone as such. Yeah, I totally agree. But no, you just smile at the refs now. That's all I do, because it costs you a lot of money.
They need to wake up, don't they, really? Because they're killing the sport. I think they need to understand the sport is there to entertain the people, not ruin the riders. I think is what they're doing. I think is wrong. And fining you guys over silly things, I think is just nonsense, really. It's not like you guys are making a fortune as it is.
No, that's true.
These referees need to wake up and realize that, this run the sport, this help the riders, not discipline the riders. I think it's gone a bit out of control.
On that profound note, there are viewers. We've reached the end of this week's podcast, but Ronnie and Crabby and Lambo have got some views on toughs of the track and maybe some of the introduction of tidying Speedway up and making it a little bit more clinical and a little bit less manic in some senses might have contributed to less toughs of the track these days. Who knows? But you will absolutely have a view on all things Speedway. So whether it directly relates to what we just talked about or not quite, please do get across our social media output. We'd love to hear from you. Share your views on just about anything. If there's any discussion topics you would like us to pick up and build into a future podcast, please just suggest it, and almost certainly we will make it happen. But gents, we've reached the end of episode 6, so thank you very much for your time and input and all your brain power this week. And as I say, my last appeal, please, I haven't mentioned WhatsApp at all tonight, but we do have that dedicated WhatsApp number, 0333 772 4046. So please get busy, drop us some text form messages, and I'm still waiting for that elusive voice note message. The first one, someone please put me out my misery and make my day, make my week, make my month. And hopefully next week we'll have that first voice note to play out. Gents, listen, thanks again for your time. Enjoy your Speedway, folks. Enjoy your weekend ahead. Enjoy your week ahead, and we look forward to your company again next week. Meantime, good night.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, guys.
Cheers, fellas. Ta-ra.